everyone, today I thought I would film my wrap-up video for you for all the books I read in April, which was not a lot of books. So I read 2 books this month because April has just been so busy. I mean, it's nice to be busy, but it has, I haven't had a lot of time to read. So at the start of the month, the children were off. It was the Easter holidays, and it was like a 20-day holiday, which, I mean, after they were off with the lockdown, it feels like they were only at school for about 10 minutes. So yeah, they were off and we were spending family time together and all that stuff. And on top of that, I was getting everything prepared for the Kickstarter, which has just launched last week for my new book, Milk and Cookies. If you're new to this channel, if you look back at my last few videos, you'll see all the stuff about that book. And I will obviously put the link below so you can check out all the information about the Kickstarter for that, which, I mean, it's so exciting. It's as I sit and film this, it's my birthday today as well. I thought it'd be nice to sit and chat about some books on my birthday, and it's just nice and cozy. And also, I got probably about 4 or 5 books for my birthday. If you want me to do like a books I got for my birthday kind of video, then let me know and I will. Anyway, so yeah, on my birthday, it's 1 week since the Kickstarter launched, and it's 46% funded or something like that, which is amazing. It's really cool. So obviously, as I say, everything with running that and launching that and the kids off and everything, it has just been a really, really busy month. So I have only read 2 books, but that's fine. It's just what happens when lots going on. So the first book that I read this month, by the way, before I get fully started, I'm really sorry if you can hear that there is a huge storm outside as well. So it's really, really, really windy out. So I'm sorry if you can hear that, but what can you do? Anyway, so the first book that I read this month, I don't have anymore, I didn't keep it. It is Somebody's Mother, Somebody's Daughter by Caroline Lee. I'll stick a picture up here. And so this book was in my A Box of Stories book, which my husband gifted me. I think he bought it for me for Valentine's Day. I'm not entirely sure, but he bought it for me. I have an affiliate link with them because I have been gifted a box by them before, just for transparency, but this one was in a box that we bought. So yeah, so that was in this box. And so this book follows the story of the victims of the Yorkshire Ripper, and so it goes through, I forget exactly how many women there were, but there were an awful lot, and it goes through kind of their background a little bit, their lives, what were they like, and then it goes through what happened on the day when they were attacked, and then it also follows the media, the media and the police, and how the whole case was dealt with, how obviously people in the area were very afraid, and that, he wasn't being caught, and it kind of really builds up this whole story of what happened, and then finally when he was caught and everything that went on there. And it follows sort of failings in the investigation to do with things like some of the women being not being fully believed and also being misrepresented. So some of them were reported as being prostitutes when they weren't, and that kind of led to misunderstandings in the case, and misunderstandings in the public eye of who was at risk and what was going on, and the fact that there were some women who had given really key pieces of evidence that weren't believed. And just, I mean, or the amount of evidence that they had, because they'd interviewed so many people, that they supposedly had it stored in this room that had to have a reinforced floor because there was so much paperwork. And to think that obviously in those days, all the paperwork would be kept literally as paper. If you think now that all that would be on a database and you'd be able to sort of cross-reference things really easily, it's just amazing to think how, well, I don't know if amazing is the right word, but it's just maybe sobering to think that if something like that happened now, the technology would really, really help, because the just sheer weight of information they had, like literally the weight of it, that how could they kind of find the correct pieces in amongst all of this. So yeah, that side of things is really, really interesting. What I will say is I preferred, so this book bears some resemblance to the book The Five by Haley, I can't remember it here, Haley Rubenhold, in that it's following the case of a very notorious serial killer, but it's focusing on the victims and it's focusing on kind of the case, rather than giving more sort of publicity to the person who committed the crime, which I think is really interesting, and it's really great to give the platform to the victims instead. So I really like that about it, but I much preferred The Five, and my reason for that is The Five far more focused on the lives of the victims and the lives of, and also things like, it was far more about the case and all of that than this one is. This one I feel has more focus on the actual incidents themselves, which The Five, it really glosses over the actual incidents. It's far more about kind of a social commentary, which I loved. This one is quite grisly in parts, and it's a very hard read. It's quite disturbing. It's very disturbing in parts. And so for me, I didn't enjoy this one as much because I felt that what I wanted was the sociology of it, about what had happened and why it had happened and the sort of cultural side of it and all of that, and not so much the kind of the disturbing stuff. But it was really interesting, and I read it really quickly. It was very, very gripping, but obviously a huge trigger warning for some not very nice stuff. So I read that very, very quickly right at the start of the month. By the way, I review all these on Goodreads, only very briefly, but I do review all of the books on there, and my link's below if you want to have a look there. And then I read this one, which I do have, which I only finished a few days ago, and this is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have read this book before, so when I was at uni, one of my friends, I'm pretty sure, said it was her favourite book or one of her favourite books, so I decided to read it. So I must have been about 20 when I first read this, and I think I just didn't really get it. I know that I skim read a lot of it, and that at the end of it I was just really confused. I didn't understand where this book was coming from, really. I think I just didn't get it. So it was one that I'd been meaning to reread because it's just one of those everybody talks about, and that I just felt like I wanted to understand what the big deal was, and I knew that I'd skim read it as well. So I think I found it in a charity shop or something. I came across it somewhere, maybe. Sometimes, when people are giving books away at the side of the street, please take, it might have been one of those. I don't know. So yeah, I picked this up and thought I'd give it another go. Now, 100 Years of Solitude is quite a dense read, which is another reason why I only read 2 books this month, because this one just really took me a long time. Because, let's start with what it's about. So 100 Years of Solitude follows a family called the Buendia family, from where they move to a new area. I believe it's set in Colombia, in a fictional village called Macondo, and they arrive in Macondo, and it basically follows from when they arrive through 100 years of their sort of descendants, their family. And this family are very isolated in their characters, and lots of strange things happen, and there's lots of weird sort of familial stuff in terms of kind of the way that their characters are passed down and the kind of people they are. So it follows this family. So this book is like a real classic example of magical realism, which I did not know, and I think that's why I didn't get on with it. So there's stuff written as if it's all real, and then something really weird will happen, but it's treated as if it's totally normal, which I think if you're not aware that that's what happens, these things happen, you're like, what? So there's some strange magic stuff, but it's treated as if it's just totally fine. So that, I think, may have been part of why I didn't get on with it, because I wasn't expecting that. The other thing in here is that the writing style. So the writing style is gorgeous, but there'll be really significant things happen, like somebody dies or something horrendous happens, and it will just be really casually in the middle of a paragraph. And if you're not paying attention, which my attention can wander if something's quite dense and if the kids are playing and this and that, and you suddenly think, you know, suddenly it's somebody's funeral and you think, what happened to them? And so I did find myself having to really focus, because it's not massively dramatic, as in if something big happens, it's not like this huge literary build up to it. It is just really casual. So you can really miss big significant parts of the plot because they just sort of happen. But so yeah, you have to focus. It's quite dense. That for me is a struggle. But so it's really, really beautiful. It's really, the magical side of it is gorgeous. The characterization is incredible. The character Ursula, who's one of the couple who first moved to Macondo, is just this amazing character. I love her. And it's weird. So there's like physical things come into it. So with Ursula, as she gets really old, she ends up becoming really small, and the children carry her around like a doll because like everything's exaggerated. So yes, people get smaller as they age, but because Ursula is so old, she becomes this like tiny doll-like and almost kind of mummy-like character. So there's sort of odd things like that. There's characters that have like a certain smell or a certain, I don't know, like weird things about them. There's a lot about sort of destiny and the destiny of this family. And so they have these gypsies that arrive, they sort of travel through Macondo every year, and they bring all of these inventions, which the other founder, Ursula's husband, Jose Arcadio Buendia, he's fascinated by them, and he ends up almost on like an alchemist's mission to, you know, just discover like miracles and magic and all of this stuff. And they leave all of these, or one of them leaves all of these manuscripts, which some of the characters become really obsessed with. Yeah, it's amazing. It's another thing that makes it very hard to follow is that a lot of the characters have the same name. There's about 22 characters in it called Aureliano. There's several called either Arcadio, Jose Arcadio Buendia. Like they follow same names, and so you can get really confused as to, oh, who are they referring to? There's an Arcadio Segundo. There's a Aureliano Segundo. There's like all these names that follow through that can get very, very confusing. So again, you have to pay attention. There's a family tree, which I had to refer back to many times. Go, oh right, okay, so that's that person's son, that's not that, right, fine. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing. As I say, really, really worth the read. The only big criticism I can give it, other than the fact that it's just a tricky read, but it is worth it. I can't speak today, honestly. Is the fact that there's a lot of incestuous relationships, which it works because the idea of this family is that they are so insular and they are so kind of almost obsessed with their own family. So it works, but in some instances as well, it's a bit. So for example, in Game of Thrones, you have the twins who have an incestuous relationship, and I feel like, although it's, you know, it makes you kind of, oh, okay, it makes sense and it's consensual. There are some relationships in this where it's like, oh yeah, not cool, in my opinion. So that for me, there were just a few parts in this, although in the context of the family and the story that's trying to be told, it has a purpose. There are just a few instances in it where I was like, oh yeah, that's not okay. So there is that. But other than that, I just found it such an incredible, imaginative, beautiful story that I'm glad I actually concentrated on this time. I think it's worth a read as one of those books that is out there as... It's always like one of those 100 books to read, and lots of people say it's their favourite, so I just think it's a good one to read and be like, okay, now I know what that is. I am keeping this one. Unlike the first one, this one is going to stay. I have recommended it to my husband. I think he would really enjoy this because he likes things that are a little bit odd and a little bit intricate, and I think I think this might be one for him. We shall see. We'll see if he gets around to picking it up. So yeah, that's it. That's all I read this month, was those two. This one took me like 3 weeks to read, so yeah, there's that. So those are the books that I have read in April. I'm sure there'll be more in May. Maybe not, but the kids aren't off, so there's that. So yeah, but things are still really busy. So yeah, as I say, those are the books that I've read. I am now I'm waiting for my mum to arrive. She's in my social bubble, so she's been able to, during the lockdown, be able to come over and hang out with us, which has been really nice. So we are going to head out and we are going to go and scan the artwork for Milk and Cookies. I'm doing that today, which is quite exciting. And we're going to go and try and have lunch in 40-mile-an-hour wind. Outside, obviously, because that's still the rules. So wish us luck. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit like. Let me know if you've read either of these books. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Take care.